Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to the new video. I'm the Casual Racing Gamer. Today I am hanging on to a driver rating A by like the skin of my teeth, like just barely there. Kyoto Driving Park has been horrendous for me. The driving has been pretty bad. I'm getting beaten around. And before we actually get into a race that I've actually, what was a decent race, before my 5 or 6 horrible races, this is just going to be an example of things that I was dealing with. So people think when you get to an A-rated lobby, you know, you get some good clean driving, everyone's out there to drive clean, but that is so not the case. And I am expecting to be a B-rated driver pretty soon again. And I actually had some of my best races in the B lobbies. So, you know, I'm not afraid to go back to a B rating and get back to some maybe clean races. But here we go, lap 1. Now this is a tough track, guys. There's a lot of spots where you really need to, you know, keep a distance with certain cars in certain spots because you don't know how people are going to handle. So here we are, a couple of the first turns, a little swerving right there, the S turns. And we have a little bit of a mix up here, which is fine. You know, leave room there. Cars mess up, cars do their thing, and that leaves you room to get through. But coming into this left-hander, we have, you know, I come to the outside and we have the other car, you know, pushing me out there a little bit. So that was fine. You know, he got his room, he got there. But then look at the 9 car right here. The 9 car is totally going to start coming into me for apparent no reason. I got a line, he got a line, and he just keeps swerving up to the top. I don't know where he wants me to go, but I lay off, I let him come in here, I brake, I let him go, and then bam, I get hit right here anyway. So I had the inside, another car just came to the inside like I wasn't even existing there and took me out. So that was the type of racing, and I think I finished last place in this race. So that is a type of racing that I've been dealing with at Kyoto Park, and Let's hop into the race that was actually decent. Let's take a look at that race. Now, one thing to understand about this track is there's a lot of spots that are very risky. You want to leave room for certain cars. You don't want to be too close to cars because you don't know how they're going to handle it, especially the chicane. There's so many mistakes and so many accidents that happen at the chicane. So you definitely want to make sure, you know, you're driving a good distance from cars, that you don't get taken out there. And just cars taking you out. Sometimes you just can't avoid it, like you saw before. A car just came to the outside and just like I wasn't existing there, just took me off the track. But here we go, starting P12 in this race, and you know, starting in the back, and you hope for some mistakes happening in front. There's a lot of cars here coming through the S turn and the swerve in here. You know, you always want to make sure cars are clean there. You always have to be careful if you're running on a car bumper there. You have to hope that they handle it perfectly. Otherwise, you're going to end up just ramming into someone and messing up there. But here we go. Brake checking myself a little bit so I don't run into the car in front of me. And that's fine. Car swerves off there. So we take over P11. And again, I'm always trying to keep a good distance with the car in front of me. Coming into the chicane, this is where it gets a little hairy, always a little scary. So, you know, always going to keep my distance, not trying to overtake anyone on the chicane. I'm just trying to keep my spot there, right? We just want to come through clean. And that's a big thing with a chicane. When cars try to overtake, you're going to take someone out. Someone's going to take you out. So just be really careful there. Here's another turn, this tight left-hander. Very easy to get loose there. So make sure you come out nice and wide. Don't slam on your throttle because plenty of times you'll just lose it there. Another spot here is where a lot of cars do make mistakes. I think cars are too scared to brake too hard there and come in too slow, and a lot of cars actually hand it out a little fast, go off track. So that's another one to be careful for. But so far, good lap. First lap, we survived it. P11, this is a 5-lap race. I am driving the Porsche in this race. I also tried the McLaren, but I feel like I was faster in the Porsche. I felt the McLaren turned a little better for me. But you know, I ended up going with the Porsche because I just felt I had more speed with it. So here we go, lots of cars tight right here, and this is where I get a little nervous coming up to these S swerves coming up here with a lot of cars being tight. You want to make sure everyone handles it cleanly and full throttle, and that can really mess you up if they don't. So I'm just kind of just hanging back here, just, you know, a car going wide there, car behind me, just always just trying to analyze front, back, not getting too close to the cars in front of me. I have a car on my tail right now. We took over P10 there. I'm going to take the inside. We have cars on my back, on my tail. Cars are everywhere right now. But I'm going to hold on to P10, and we still have a good distance with the cars in front of us. Those cars are running tighter. Here we go, coming into chicane. You saw a car actually go off right there. So we're going to come in here, see if we can overtake anyone here. Oh, there goes someone off track right there. So just like that, we're moving into P9. Again, just running good, clean, consistent laps. We're just looking for consistency here. And I'm always, you know, here we go. Not too close. I want to make sure the car can handle. I'm not trying to push this car. I'm not trying to overtake. I'm always looking for the spots where I can overtake, where it's going to be clean, and where I'm not going to ruin my day or someone else's. So coming into this spot again, I'm always braking a little early if there's a car in front of me, because you never know what that car in front of you is going to do. So it's always a big thing when I'm running close to a car is I don't brake at my regular markers. I always brake earlier than my regular markers, or I slow into the braking zone and not really, hard brake at the braking mark. I always want to have control of my car if I do need to brake hard and I'm getting closer to the car in front of me. And, that might be a good thing or a bad thing, because it does let the car in front of you pull away at times, because you're braking a little earlier and you're giving them, their complete braking zone where they are braking at the optimal point. But that's okay. I'd rather do that and catch them somewhere else where I can overpass them. If I'm fast, I will catch them. If I can't catch them, then I'm not really fast enough to pass them. If I just give them a little room to move up and I can't catch them, then we're basically running the same. So it's better to leave room than not leave room. But some of you guys might race that a little bit differently than I race it. And you might just, run that to the limit right with that car in front. And that's putting a lot of trust in the car in front of you. And I often don't have that much amount of trust in the car in front of me. Again, handling the chicane, that's the biggest spot. One of the worst spots in this track, I think, is handling that cleanly. And I'd rather handle that slower and clean than faster and sloppy. So right now running P9, so this is good, right? We moved up from where we started. So if I end here, that's good. But always the more places we can pull, the better. We're on lap 3 of 5, coming into this tight left-hander again. Always want to slow down here enough where you don't go too wide. You want to come out really nicely, and that's another big spot where mistakes can happen. This is a track that it's kind of hard to be comfortable everywhere. There's some tracks where you feel pretty comfortable on all the actual turning that you do and all the turns and all the apexes. But I feel like on this track there's a couple risky spots, and for those spots I need to brake a little earlier than usual than when I'm running like a qualifying lap. An actual race pace, I'm braking a little earlier and slowing my car down more than I usually do when I'm trying to just hit a good qualifying lap. So we are running P9 still. P8 not far ahead of us, right? Still in sight. We can see P8, we can see P7, P6 a little more in the distance, but all in our sight. So any mistakes that can happen, we're kind of close enough to overtake those cars. The closer that P7 and P8 actually race with each other, the better off that we are. So coming into the left-hander, again, keeping the same distance. And what are we running here? So lap 1, we ran a 146. Lap 1 really, throws out the door. Lap 2, we ran a 138. Lap 3, we ran a 135.792, which is probably going to be like my running race laps in the 135s. Is a pretty good lap. Like I was at the high 134s, I think is my top qual right now. So running in 135s is a decent lap for me right now. Running an actual race pace. So are we catching the car in front of us a little more? I feel like we're getting a little bit closer here, coming into the left-hander. Always want to handle this carefully, not running off into the grass. Once you run off into the grass, it could be a lot of trouble. We do have a little distance from the car in back of us that's in P10, but he is there, so we know he's there. We just want to keep pulling away where we possibly can. So anywhere we can get on that throttle early coming out of a turn and just pull away, that's our focus. Just pull away. Big thing, we still have 16 cars in this race. A lot of times, but by this lap 5 of 5, we're on our last lap. Usually you have some cars drop, so usually down to 15 or 14 cars, but we have all 16 cars still in the race, which is pretty cool, right? So lap 4, we ran a 136.7, so a little bit slower there, 1 second slower off, but our tire has more wear on it, and we're kind of just chilling right now in P9, because P8 really isn't. I don't feel P8 is close enough for us to actually be able to overtake him unless something happens there. So coming into this last lap, we're hoping for something to happen with cars in front of us, but we're not gonna. They're too far from us to actually drive and overtake them from where they are. So we're just gonna drive good here. Coming in the chicane, here's the danger, right? All these cars coming in the chicane together. They made it. They survived. No, a little wobble, a little wiggle, and we are going to pass. We are going to pass right there for a P8. So now we are in a P8. Again, when I tell you, when that chicane, if you're going side by side with cars, and there was 3 cars going in there, there's so much risk involved. I usually just back off if you can. Back off if there's no one behind you that's going to ram you from behind, and then just survive this chicane, and then worry about overtaking somewhere else. But we are in a P8 right now. That feels really good. Don't want to go too wide there. We did survive. We are going to come to this last turn, and P8 right now is looking pretty good for us. We have nice distance between us and P9, which feels good. I don't have to overdrive this last turn here, which is also another risky spot to lose the back end of your car. And we are going to sail in to a P8. We started P12, I believe. So a P8 finish from a P12. To me, that was a good day. But when I tell you, I am literally hanging on by the skin of my teeth to a driver rating A. Let's take a look at how close I am. When I tell you I'm just hanging on. Ready? Take a look at this, guys. Literally one more race that I have a bad finish, and I am coming back to B lobbies. Now, I don't know how hard it is to move back to A when you move back to B, but I know when I was at a high B, it was so hard to get to an A, but that's all fun and challenging, right? So, guys, don't be afraid about your driver rating. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thumb it up, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. We out of here. Peace.